I am a super organized person. मतलब कुछ हद तक. While I do enjoy being extra organized with the things in front of my eyes, for the things out of sight, they're literally out of mind. Just like our project window right here. You will usually find it on the top left side of the default interface. After Effects के सारे projects essentially यहाँ शुरू होते हैं because this is where you dump all your footage. अभी आपकी मर्जी है whether you want to keep it extremely organized by segregating your footage and making folders, or you can just run of it like me. The project window also shows information about your video and will be extremely helpful to quickly know the dimensions of your footage later. To view the video, you simply double click. ये करते ही viewer window खुल जाएगा. इस part तक you've basically used After Effects as Windows media player, but we'll start editing soon. Usually whenever I'm working on a project, सबसे ज़्यादा जगह मैं छोड़ता हूँ for the final product and उसके नीचे is the part that I'm currently working on. But how do you make these two? We make our first composition. Composition in AE is a fairly deep topic and इस पे हम काफ़ी time spend करेंगे. But for today, this is what you want your final product to look like. हम सीख रहे हैं for vertical content, इसलिए we'll be making a vertical composition. Now to be even more clear, let's say this is your composition, resolution 1920 by 1080, and this is any average phone today. See how I've made them the same size? This is because all phones have a 1080p display. But bro, I shoot 4K now. Why are we still on 1080p? That's a great point. This is what happens when you bring in a 4K video inside a 1080p composition. The 4K frame is obviously much bigger than the 1080p frame. इसका मतलब मुझे ये video adjust करने के लिए काफी जगह मिल गई. I can move it around to any part and the viewer can never tell the difference because तुम्हारे हाथ में तो एक 1080p display ही होगा. And this is pretty much the only reason to shoot in 4K for Instagram content. As an editor, this gives you place to fix framing mistakes and track objects in post, even if you messed up during shooting, and no one can ever tell the difference. This becomes harder when the footage itself is 1080p. It leaves us no room to move or adjust the footage later. Sure, you can increase the size and then move the footage around, but we'll come back to the problem with that. Every element you bring inside the timeline is gonna have three main transform properties: position, scale, and rotation. I think you're smart enough to connect the dots on what all of them do, but here's something you should know about scale. For any video you freshly bought into the timeline, scale is automatically set to 100, which is also the biggest it's supposed to be. Scale को यहाँ से बढ़ाओगे तो you'll slowly start to see the drop in quality. This brings us straight back to the problem with 1080p footage. With scale set to 100, it's still just the exact size of our composition. So to move or adjust the footage, you'll have to increase the scale beyond 100, which will basically stretch the image and you'll see the drop in resolution. After Effects is a pretty user-friendly software and allows you to change its layout to your preference. You can simply drag and place any window to any part of the screen, and if you mess up, you can always go back and reset to default. There is this one toolbar that needs to be discussed along with the windows: text, brush, pen, and shape. Sorted. Moving on to the effects panel. I'm kidding. We'll go through these tools as and when needed, but for today, make a text. Oh damn, it makes a new layer? You should have known this by now. Isn't your therapy costing a lot? Now just so you can pretend at the office that you've mastered After Effects, we're gonna add one effect to this text layer. Now find your effects panel and search for blur. Click, drag and drop this effect onto your text layer, or just double click it while the text layer is selected. This will apply the effect to the selected layer, and now blur should show up in the effects control panel. All the different effects you apply to a single layer will show up here as a list. It doesn't really matter if you use After Effects or any other video editing software. The basic concepts remain the same, and it's really important that you go and explore your software on your own. I hope through my videos I've motivated you in some way to start a new creative project. And with that said, I still have to get started with the third one, so I better get back to it.